Hello, everyone. My name is Ysabel Garcia. Use your pronouns, and I am the founder of Estoy Aqui. And we are here to start the Why I'm Still Here, Por qué sigo aquí series. And we have our first guest, Tanisha Arena. Tanisha is not only a colleague of mine, but a friend, and what we say in the social justice circles, we say co-conspirator. So, welcome, Tanisha, to this series.
Well, thank you, my co-conspirator friend and partner in all things Aries crime. We won't talk about that. So yeah, I'm Tanisha Arena. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And in my day job, I am the executive director of Arise for Social Justice. We're a growing grassroots organization in Springfield that focuses on the rights of poor and low-income folks. White supremacy and racism are at the root of all of the issues. Pick one: homelessness, housing, healthcare, environmental racism. It's all there. I consult with Ysabel with Growing a New Heart, and we do lots of work and we talk about topics like this. Mental health is also something that comes under attack.
Yes. And I was saying, we talk about this all the time. We are just making this conversation public. That's basically it. That's basically what we're doing now. In a specific, we have spoken about barbershops as a form of care. And just to give some explanation to the audience, the goal of this series is to really put emphasis on what we call community care. This intersection or connection that we know we have among each other, not only looking at how do we improve our mental health, but how do we do that simultaneously with other people. And so that's where the community aspect comes in. And I know how much you love the barbershop. And I have always been fascinated by your love of the barbershop. And I want to know, how do you build that community care, and how do you build that mental health care for you and the people around you through the barbershop in specific?
Mm. Well, I have a different vantage point, I guess you'd say. Like, I'm not the mom bringing my sons to the barbershop. I'm the person in the barbershop. And people's relationships with their barbers, it takes time, right? And people will not go to another barber. Like, you just don't do that. Like, you don't cheat on your barber, right? So you're building this relationship. And so I get to have that experience for myself with my barber, but as someone who's not a male identified person, I get to watch what's happening for, the other people in the shop as they relate to their barbers. But I'll, come in, and my barber always asks me, like, "What's up, Tanisha? How you doing?" Like, there's that initial ask of, "How are you?" Right? And for the average person, like, how many times is somebody asking you, if ever, "How are you?" And you spend a reasonable amount of time in the barber chair. It can be 30 minutes, it can be an hour and some change, depending on what else is going on, what kind of cut you're getting done. I mean, for folks with beards, which I hate being behind the people that have beards because it takes a long time, but you're not just sitting there in silence. So people are actually talking, and maybe the TV's going, and so you're seeing the news, and it's striking up conversation, and you can kind of see, like, how are people doing with what's happening in their everyday lives, what's happening in the community.
Yeah. And as you were talking, it reminded me a little bit about this concept of therapy almost, because you mentioned how you get this specific barber, and that's like your barber. Like, this is my barber. This barber knows what I like, what I don't like. We already have some trust, a dynamic. There might be even a follow up to a conversation you had maybe 2 weeks ago. And so it kind of reminds me of that therapy process where you have this therapist, this is the person you see, etc. there are appointments and things like that. And I wonder, in terms of culture, in terms of, for instance, the Black culture, do you see a relationship there? Kind of like, I call barbers and hairstylists and a lot of other people who do this work the mental health stakeholders.
Mhm.
um, do you see a relationship there between culture and the barbershop? Is that really apparent to you when you go there?
Oh yeah, it's that's the that is the space. It's the thing that Black folks do, like go on Saturdays or whatever your day is, and guys in there are talking about sports sometimes, or maybe there's a thing that has happened, but they are talking. They're talking to their barbers. They're talking to each other. There's relationship advice, good or bad. Like there's all kinds of things that are going on in the barbershop, and it is even the development of culture. So
Mm.
for the parents who are bringing in their kids, right? They're getting acclimated into this thing. Like you go in the barber, this is what's going to happen. And this relationship is happening over time. For example, so I started taking my younger brother to the barbershop. He was like maybe like 11 or 12. He just turned 29. He has the same barber.
Whoa.
Right? Like, so it's the like transition. You've grown up, have entered into manhood. These are the kinds of things. And, like just the changes. And I've had my barber for a couple of years, and it is like, hey, Tanisha, how's it going? How are the grandbabies? How are your girl? Like all of the different kinds of things. Like, how am I doing? How's work? Knowing the work that I do, like in community, and being excited about that, and me being able to talk about some of the community things in those spaces. And that's more
Mm.
broad, but like for things going on in my life, like here's somebody who sees me once a week, like a therapist, and can kind of gauge like, you quiet today, what's going on?
Hmm.
Right. And that's from somebody who's seeing me on a consistent basis.
Right. So they know, yes, they notice. They
Mhm.
notice a change maybe in personality or just the way that you express yourself. Like there is an observation element to
Mhm.
it. And the word that keeps coming up for me is that trust that gets built over time,
Mhm.
which is again is fascinating. It's fascinating to me. But I also want to talk about the fact that you get the coolest haircuts and how is this called? What you do? What?
Oh, I get the design. So let me see. We're backwards.
Yes, I love this, and but my favorite part of this process, because I see it as a process, uh, is when you share your joy of this, your new design,
Yeah,
and you share it with your, colleagues, friends, and it's like, and then we celebrate that. We are like, yes, all the things that we do, how we interact, and I believe, from my point of view, that that's also part of that mental health care. Is this black joy, like just a
yeah.
celebration of who you are, like. And I'm wondering, what do you think about that process of that joy? Like, how is that like for
Oh, it
you when you,
does. So I
when
have
you take a picture, you send it, like, what is it like
yeah, I'm
for
like,
you?
hey, look what I did, right? And so it does, it transcends generations. So like I'm from Connecticut, so my brother, he goes to the barber that we had together in Connecticut, and I'm up here, so I would send him a picture of my latest design, and then he'd send me back one because he went to his barber and he got something else. So we were just like going back and forth. So there's that, and it's just, there's the excitement of like, I did this thing, which is not
Hmm.
expected, but it gets the intersection of all of my identities. I am someone who identifies as a woman. I'm masculine of center, so that I'm sitting in the barbershop. I'm not at the hair salon. I had that life. That's like a job. So imagine spending all day of a Saturday, 8 to 4, in the hairdresser. You're going to talk about some things, right? Whether you're, getting a
Right.
perm, getting some braids, you're going to be in there for a while. And I'm just like, I can't do that. Um, but it is like I have a board on Pinterest called Dope Cuts, and it has all of the, oh, I think I might want to get this, or that looks really great. And then I show it to the barber, and I have to make an appointment, and they draw like, and it's the whole process. So like I've had chalk lines on my head, I've had airbrush done to make the lines really sharp, and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And it's like, it's art, and it's exciting too, because I do this work in these ways, and we talk about what's professional, and it became this intentional thing. Like, yup, I have a master's level education, I run this organization, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm wearing my little bun, and I got this radical design on the side of my head, and I'm the person you came to talk to.
Yeah.
Upending white supremacy at its finest. That's what I'm doing. Very intentional. And that brings me lots of joy. It's also a chunk of time that is self-care in a number of ways. Not only am I participating in community and building community, but I'm intentional about not being on my phone and like actually just enjoying the process. I don't have anything else that I need to worry about. I'm just getting a haircut, and that's it. So it's a lot of joy when I come out the barbershop.
Wow. I love how even the choosing of the barbershop as a form of care is also, it also goes into fighting white supremacy culture. This is just more than hair and more than the design in itself. Is also part of this idea of professionalism that we know what it means in the corporate world, the nonprofit world.
Mm-hmm.
Tidy, quote unquote, tidy hair. We know what that means. Straight hair, right? There
Yeah.
is a lot of social norms, a lot of cultural norms that you are breaking. Just showing up as who you are and choosing joy. Just by choosing joy, you are literally breaking away from white supremacy culture. Um, and that to me, again, that is linked to the barbershop. So how powerful is just, but a lot of people see it's just a place, a setting. They might see it as just hair, but how powerful it is that not only you have you have explained this relationship, this trust, this connection throughout the years, and then you are also using that to fight against injustices, against these so-called norms, oppression, basically. Um, Listen, I could speak about this for hours. I could, because I love this stuff. But I want to give ourselves a chance to also talk about how can we support this work? Like, how can we support each other's work in terms of what we do with social justice, mental health, and things like that? So, in your case, you mentioned a rise for social justice, and you mentioned a little bit about your role. So I'm wondering, how can we support that fight against white supremacy culture with you? How can we be your co-conspirators, basically? Oh, you're muted.
My bad. I'm back. So yeah, there are levels to this. People talk about, oh, I'm an ally. That's great. You can be an accomplice. You can be a co-conspirator. You can be a strategic agitator. I invite everybody to go to our website, www.arisespringfield.org. You can become a financial supporter one time. You can become a sustainer. That's long term. You can become a volunteer. We're rolling into the fall if you're looking for internship opportunities. We have a full service food pantry. I mean, there are lots of things that are happening in our country right now. If you haven't noticed, democracy is crumbling, and it's really hot outside. We just had the coolest summer that we're ever going to have going forward. So if you are hot, be prepared because it's going to get hotter. These are the things that we talk about. And also local politics. Midterm elections are happening. It's important to know who's on your school committee, who is on city council, how are they voting. There are lots of elected positions, the district attorney, the sheriff's office, governor's council, the governor, like they all matter. You're going to feel the effects of local politics a lot more than the federal, unless it's something like Roe v. Wade being overturned, which we need to be in that fight too. And that's not just for the womb bearers. Guys, we need to show up in that one too.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that up as well. And in my case, something that I want to share with the audience is that this series, the Why I'm Still Here, Porque Sigo Aquí series, is actually attached to a campaign. And this campaign includes merchandise. And all the guests that we are having for this series are actually models for this campaign. They actually wore the merchandise and model the merchandise in front of a camera. So you will actually see Tanisha wearing very special merchandise in a set of pictures, and they're actually available for purchase. Estoy Aquí has a bonfire store, and it's basically bonfire.com/store/estoy aquí, and you can go there and purchase as many dope t-shirts, sweater, hoodies, mugs, etc. And so you're gonna see I'm not gonna tell you the t-shirt or the sweater. I think it's a sweater that Tanisha is wearing, but that is definitely one of my favorites. And so again, this series is attached to the merchandise campaign, so make sure to purchase merchandise. Also, if you go to my website, estoy-aquí.org, you can see that there is a donation section. I appreciate any amount for donations. Those donations go to fund La Cultura Sana outreach project, which ironically reaches out to barbers as well, because we do a customer service training focused on mental health for, again, what we call the mental health stakeholders of our culture. And so hairstylists, barbers, librarians, etc. are welcome to take that training. And so all the donations go to fund the stipends for those who take the training, and also the materials that I give them after the training is over. Of course, I also have other trainings for providers, college students, high school students, so feel free to explore those options as well. So I want to end on the note of thank you. Thank you for accepting the invitation to do this, to speak about your experience with the barbershop, and also for providing your time for the photo shoot, and just for being, again, a co-conspirator and colleague and friend as well.
Well, thank you. That got you. It was a lot of fun. I don't consider myself to be a model, but I'm like, okay, I'll try this thing. Yeah, just saying yes to being in different places and spaces, because we talk about how representation matters, but it's more than just like, okay, well, there was a face that kind of looked like mine, but there's voices, behind that, and stories and experiences that matter. And folks need to see that and also be a part of it. And so I'm like, all right, I live this life. It looks like this. And if it helps somebody just because I exist in the way that I do, I'm for it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Tanisha, and thank you so much to the audience who is watching this. Once again, bonfire, merchandise, estoy-aquí.org. Thank you so much for watching.